Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contract, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show.
Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Michael Levin on the line, and he is the founder over at the Michael Levin Writing Company. He's also a 2-time New York Times bestselling author and a #1 Amazon nonfiction bestselling author. Michael, welcome to the show.
Adam, thank you for having me.
Oh, man, so excited to get into today's topic. So I know you just launched a new course, the Best Earning Author Program, and considering your background as a 2-time New York Times bestselling author and #1 on Amazon in the nonfiction section, I mean, you're the guy that I would want to learn from in that program. So we're going to get into this. I do want to do a deep dive into that and the kind of content for the listeners so they can understand their benefits for joining. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit more about your background. So how did you get started on this career and this path of writing?
Oh, sure. I mean, it started when I was a little kid, and my dad read me either Ask Mr. Bear or Winnie the Pooh, and I just fell in love with books, as a toddler. And it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do with my life is write books, teach writing, be around writers, help people get their books done. And it's a good thing because this is my only marketable skill. So, it's kind of worked out.
That's absolutely amazing and funny. You're like, well, it all started with Winnie the Pooh. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews, Michael, but I think that's the first one I had like that. They're like, I started when my dad was reading me Winnie the Pooh. I don't know what to say.
You asked where it started, so that was it. And that was it. So.
That's awesome. So there's some aspiring and new writers, and there's some people that have been writing for a long time that haven't quite figured out how to earn money writing. So they may be very talented. They may have the stuff. They may have been working on this craft for a long time, but the writing is a business. So I want to jump right into your program because I think it's an amazing angle. I've seen a lot of other, programs out there that are great, by the way, that, they teach maybe the basics of writing or how to get your book done or some things like that, but they don't necessarily teach how to earn money, which is important for a writer to sustain themselves and to continue their career. So the name of the program, the Best Earning Author Program. So what was the inspiration for this?
Well, sure. It's that I've been ghostwriting books. I've done more than 750 books in 30 years, and there are 20.
Wow, let's say that again.
Yeah.
Hold on. 750 books in 30 years. You can't glance over that one. That's like saying Michael Jordan won X amount of championships. You got to sit on that one for a minute. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, they call Michael Jordan the Michael Levin of basketball, so I understand. I don't mean to I'm being ridiculous. The point is that I've worked with, I've probably helped more writers get successful books going than maybe anybody on the planet. I've taught writing at UCLA and New York University and around the country and around the world. I understand the first-time writer probably better than anybody, and that's the only thing I don't want to sound boastful, but if you do something for 30 years and you help thousands and thousands of people, and then you do 750 books, you must know something. So the short of it is that most people who want to do books struggle with a number of things. First of all, they don't know which book to write. The second is they don't know how to get a book done, either on their own or with some sort of help, given their busy schedules. And then they don't know necessarily the best way to get it published, distributed, and marketed without wasting tens of thousands of dollars, because there are a lot of sharks in the water, and there are a lot of not so great enterprises out there that take advantage of first-time authors. And then on top of that, getting the book done the right way, published the right way is only half the battle. The other half is how do you monetize? And there are a lot of ways to avoid having the proverbial boxes of books in the garage after you spend all that time writing it. Getting the book done the right way, written and published, is only half the battle. Making money from it is the other half. So I put together a 6-hour and 40-minute course. And if you don't have 6 hours and 40 minutes to spend on your writing career, then I don't know if you're serious. But if you are, you're gonna learn everything that you need to know about which book to write, about how to get it done in limited time, about how to publish it effectively for short dollars, and then how to distribute it effectively, and how to monetize. There's so many ways to monetize a book. Most people don't know about them. I've got a business friend, and he said, "Michael, you're an idiot." And before he used the word idiot, he used a word I cannot use on this podcast. Many people might listen, but it was hurtful. And I said, "Why am I a blanking idiot?" He said, "It's because you know so much about monetizing books, and you don't really share that information with people in an organized way." So that sort of prompted this whole thing, and people love the course. It's changing people's lives, turning them from writers into authors, into successful authors who are making money from their books, and that's what it's all about.
That's awesome. And so let's go a little bit more into the nuts and bolts of it. So you mentioned it's a little over 6 hours. Tell us just a little bit more about the sections so people can kind of wrap their head around it when they go through this course.
Okay, well, we talk about the head trash that sometimes inhibits people from writing. They're too focused on the critics instead of who their audience is. And then they haven't really spent enough time thinking through who they want to write for. There's no mass market. Everything is niche. So the question is, who specifically do you want to address, and what audience are you going to speak to that is going to be most benefited by what you have to say, and they're going to be most beneficial to you and to your career? How do you find that sweet spot? And then how do you organize a book? So much. You could write 10 different books right now. How do you know which book to write, what to put in it, in what order, how long it should be? And then once you've got the plan for it, how do you actually write it yourself? What time frame do you have on a given day to work on it? Do you bring in help? Do you bring in a grad student? If so, how to sort of organize or interview you or edit or whatever? Do you work with a ghostwriter? How do you find and hire one? How do you once you've got the manuscript done, how do you get blurbs? Those are where people are saying, "Hey, I love this, and you should read it." And how many do you need? And then how do you choose the right publishing company to publish the book for you? Do you need to go to New York and get a literary agent and a publisher? Do you do it independently? What are the benefits and shortfalls of each approach? And then distribution. It's not just putting it up on Amazon today. There are a lot of ways to distribute books. There are a lot of ways to make money with bulk sales and all sorts of other things. How do you get books into bookstores? How do you get books into airport bookstores? What are the benefits and costs of doing that? What's the right way to do that? So, as I said, there's so many different ways to monetize. Should you be doing the book as a manual so you can charge more for it? Should you be working with industry leaders in your field to get their blurbs for the book so that you can kind of free write off their credibility? And I mean, I could go on, and I did. I love to talk about books and writing, and I understand the problems that authors face, having worked with so many of them. So I thought, what if we could just walk people through everything from I want to have a book, I need to have a book, to now I've gotten over my fears about it. I know how to get it done. I know which book to write. I know where to publish it and how to publish it. I know how to get it distributed. I know what to do in terms of Google, SEO, page ranking, Google ads, Facebook ads, digital marketing, what vendors, what I can expect from PR, what a public relations firm is going to do, how to choose them, how much to spend, what kind of vendor to look for, how to know if they're credible, what questions to ask, because it's kind of a minefield. So you need a process. You need to know what you need, and you need to know what questions to ask of the vendors you're going to bring on board. Because if you're going to spend money to make money, how do you do it so that you're spending small amounts up front to generate income, which you can then peel off some of that money and do some of the more expensive things down the road? So knowing what to do in the right order is also a big part of the program. So those are some of the things we get into.
Oh man, that's awesome. So you're really diving into, what took you 30 years of knowledge and your blueprint, and you're really giving it in this concise 6-hour course, or a little over 6 hours, in order so that people can, benefit from your learning. I always like this. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, people think about mentors and this and that. I'm like, there's courses out there. You get the right one and you absorb it all. Like, if somebody's really doing what they say they're doing, which you obviously have, publishing over 700 people and, doing this for 30 years, if somebody's the right type of mentor or coach, and they have an online program, you better 100% go and do that, because there's no point in not doing it. What are you going to do? Spend the next 20 years or 10 years or however long it's going to take? Maybe we have the internet now, so it's a little faster than it was when you started, but what are you going to do? Spend the next decade trying to figure out what you could have learned maybe in 6 hours, and you could have spent the other 9 years and whatever else, minus the change in hours, the 6 hours they invest in time, and spend that implementing, spend that on executing. Can you talk a little bit about the execution part? Because that's the part that kills me. I'm like, you got all the information. Now it's time to go execute. Do it.
Yeah, when you talk about execution, you mean actually getting the book written?
Yeah, getting it done. So once they're through the program, how do they
Sure.
the next part of that? Because for me, the only challenge with any of this stuff is I'm like, now you have to go and write the book. You have to go do it. You took the program, now go do it. So and the reason why I'm asking you that, and I don't ask everybody that question, is because having helped all the people that you helped publish, you obviously have a message there that gets it done.
Sure. And the short of it is that it goes back to something I said a moment ago. There's a lot of head trash. People have in their heads, oh, who am I to write a book? How dare I? And the reality is that we need your knowledge and your experience and your guidance. I'm talking to your listeners now, and because no one else has been through what you have been through. No one else has your specific professional experience. And no, you're not going to talk to everybody, but the people you talk to are going to be transformed by the book you did. So we have to stop thinking about the critics. We have to, and I talk about how to put the fear behind us. And then, low quotas are the key to success if you're trying to get a book written. If you're a business person, you don't have a lot of time, and you're not going to spend the money to hire a ghostwriter, and you're doing it yourself, that's fine. The question is, can you write 2 rotten stinking pages a day? This is just as an example. Mm-hmm. And I say 2 rotten stinking pages because you're not going to write better than you can write or worse than you can write. And if you say rotten and stinking, it takes the pressure off. So if you do just 2 pages a day, then in a week you're going to get 10 pages done. You'll probably do more. You won't stop after 2. In a month, that's 40 pages. In 2 months, that's 80. So basically 10 weeks from today, if you just did 2 pages a day, you'd have a 100-page draft. And then you can spend another month editing it, and then you can go to market. So you could have your book out, in 90 to 120 days if all you did was spend 15, 20 minutes a day. Most people think, oh, I'm writing a book, I have to write 10,000 words, I have to write 10 pages. No, just do 2 rotten, stinking pages a day, 2 pages, and you'll get there. And it sounds so crazy, but there's an expression, slow motion gets you there faster. You can interpret that however you want, but with books, it's really true. You just do a little bit every day. So that's just one example. And then in terms of the other steps, the publishing, the distribution, I can basically save the reader years of struggle and wasted time and tens of thousands of dollars that would have been thrown away by choosing the wrong people to work with for the publishing, distribution, and marketing of the book. And so it's just so important to work with the right people. How do you know if you've got a high-integrity vendor to work with? I can guide you, and I do on the course, on the Best Earning Author course, to identify what kind of vendors to work with, how to tell if they're legitimate or not, what questions to ask them, so that you come away with the right person and you're getting things done the right way for the least amount of money the first time, instead of going through all the heartache and wasted time and money that so many people go through. So, I've got a heart for the first-time author because I've worked with so many of them, and they're my people, they're my tribe. You've done 5 books, you've done 10 books, you may not need the course. But if you're trying to figure it out, especially if you're a business person, a lot of books are not. I ran a ghostwriting business and sold it 2 years ago, started a second one, so I know what it's like to meet a payroll, and I know what it's like to be a business owner and an employer. And it is very helpful if you are that kind of person, if you're a business person of any kind, CEO, entrepreneur. We've done tons of books with doctors and dentists and engineers and everybody you can think of. If somebody's been in the business world and who's lived it and then is able to apply that experience to the question of how do you write a successful book, especially if you're a business person, you're not going to find that in a general course. So that's why this one's so important.
That's awesome, Michael. Well, that being said, so if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on the Best Earning Author Program, what's the best way for them to follow up and to connect and to get more info?
I would invite them to visit thebestearningauthor.com. And if you go to thebestearningauthor.com and take a look at the course, because you heard about it on Adam's podcast, if you use the word write in all caps, WRITE, at checkout, you'll take $50 off the course, and that's my way of saying thank you to you, Adam, for introducing me to your audience and the audience to the course. So and the reason it's called the Best Earning Author is because you can be a best-selling author and make very little money. The real trick of it is to be a best earning author, and I'll show you how.
Man, that's awesome. So, hey, Michael, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your new program with my audience where you're encapsulating 30 years of experience, blood, sweat, and tears, helping people get published, over 700 authors published by yourself. And to the audience, definitely go check out that course, the Best Earning Author Program. And if you're listening for the first time, give us a subscribe. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, then obviously leave us some comments there. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Michael, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
Adam, you're a great guy, and thank you for having me.